We are blessed to live in such a diverse arboreal country. We can choose to move silently between endless forests that shroud the ground in darkness, only occasionally choosing to let streams of light penetrate the canopy, as if the forest was inhaling for a moment, breathing in the warmth of the sun. Or our sprawling mountain landscapes that eclipse the horizon, casting mighty shadows over the scrubland below, as if purposefully trying to intimidate anyone who dare stands before it, reminiscent of a biblical tale of giant and mortal man. And these mystical and magical places that I talk of are not that of fantasy or fiction. They are here on our doorsteps. They reside close to our cities, towns and villages. We just need to seek them out and choose to visit. For some, these places are sacred ground, a spiritual escape from the normality and routine of an often hectic life. The technological world that we live in can be overwhelming, and the constant stream of communication often leads to a feeling of entrapment, which then leads to resentment. However, there are the few that choose to disconnect from the machine and look to the forests and the hills of our great lands to remind themselves of the true meaning of isolation. The cutting of the umbilical to once again hear their own thoughts and dream of new aspirations. We are wild campers. As the earth recovers from a state of flux, a wildfire that spread across borders and open expanses of water, the world suddenly became unobtainable as we receded into our homes, imprisoned by our immunity of a silent, invisible invader. And as time went on and we slowly and tentatively felt daylight again, we had to accept that our world was now different and much larger, as far off places were now just pictures on social media. As our skies became devoid of traffic and industry on the verge of collapse, we headed into summer, a population now grounded, confined to an island that is still closed, as holiday villages and campsites wait out the storm in the hope that normal business is not too far away. It is then that the self-entitled surged into the open spaces of our evergreen landscapes, not to enjoy the openness or tranquility of our forests and woodlands, but to recreate for a few moments their own lost journey where they could eat and drink all inclusively. Unprepared groups of inexperienced, frustrated holidaymakers clamber through wooded paths, carrying with them the contents of a high street outdoor store, dragging cooler boxes filled with alcohol and barbecue behind them. New tents are hastily erected as a mini village starts to rise, a shanty town emerges in the woods. Music plays as tins open and as limbs are torn from trees, fires are lit the size of which are visible from the International Space Station. Laughter and shouting break the tranquility as food is half cooked on oversized fires and consumed as bottles are passed round before retiring into poorly erected tents. Only to arise early the next morning, awoken by the dawn chorus as the forest exacts its revenge for the previous night's frivolity of its land. And as faces appear through the cheap nylon, the devastation slowly reveals itself in all its glory, a trophy awarded for the mayhem and destruction that have been caused. As the bonfire still smoulders, empty cans are kicked from the path of apocalyptic campers as they struggle to realise their surroundings, the realisation that Mummy is not here to clean up slowly sinking in. And as they retreat to their cars to journey home, carnage and devastation is left behind as they leave all that they dragged into the forest behind. The bonfire throws smoke over an abandoned camp, reminiscent of a disaster zone. its inhabitants long gone, now with no thought in their head of what they have done or left behind. The tabloids report on this mass migration into the woods and the destruction that it is causing. Pictures are circulated of these abandoned camps, and public outcry ensues as wild campers are now victimised and persecuted by public opinion on false information, the actual facts lost in the words of sensationalised stories. These stories, which are now apparent and adorn most outdoor social media networks, are a relatively new addition to the daily reading of the masses. But these are not wild campers that you read about in banners scrolling across your phone or tablet. Wild campers have been venturing into the outdoors for decades, and we respect the land and property that for a very short period of time we call home. But you would not have read about it in an online edition of the local tabloid or the national press, as true wild campers, of which we are many, enter, stay and then leave without disturbing nature or the land, a practice we call leave no trace. Wild campers take pride in the fact that we can cohabit for short periods with the majesty of the forest, feeding off it without harming it, sharing its bounty and enjoying its company. The act of wild camping and spending time alone with your thoughts, the sounds of the wild creating an inner peace as time slows down as you breathe with the wind. We seek solitude and silence as we move undetected through the forests and the woodlands, speaking no words as we listen to the voice of the earth. We practice the art of survival and bushcraft, honing our skills as we look to nature to guide us in our knowledge of the outdoors. Shelters and small camps are hidden away, never to be discovered, as our senses sharpen and heighten to the point we can hear the world and all that are in it, as a deer would fix its gaze in the direction of the sound of a breaking twig. And as the sunlight dips behind the tree line, we sit transfixed on the myriad of light and colours which seem to change with every minute that slowly moves by. And as darkness envelopes us, the world is naturally lit by stars whose light has taken millions of years to reach us, rendering us insignificant in a universe too big to comprehend. Time stands still, and you are gently released from your gaze only by the chilling sting of the cold air. You retire to bed, your soul now replenished with the experience that you shared with only yourself. morning sky pushes away the night as a hand would wipe away dust from a worktop, and as our breath condensates in the brand new daylight, we absorb the morning sun, recharging our minds as we reconnect with nature. We methodically erase our presence from our temporary home, ensuring that there was no sign we were ever here, leaving as we found, left to be enjoyed by the next roamer who chooses to lay his head to the ground to listen to the heartbeat of the earth. This is wild camping, and we are wild campers.